So we are back in the parlor for our fall season, in the cozy parlor, and today we're trying out the new heat pumps to see how they work. I turned them on when I came in this morning, and the room got up to temperature, both the coffee room space and this space, very quickly. I turned on the fireplace just for the ambiance. It looks like that is not going to be necessary today. I may take my sport coat off as the service goes on. There's also a football game going on right now in London. The New England Patriots and Jacksonville Jaguars are playing. So if I happen to notice anyone scrolling their phone during the service, or if you notice me doing it in the service, you'll know what I'm doing. Our prelude this morning is a short 1-minute piece. It was off the debut album of Neil Young in 1968, and he put together a string quartet. Called it, this title is of the piece, a string quartet from Whisky Hill, Neil Young. Light our chalice this morning. And Brenda, would you do the honors for us this morning? Yes, I did. Light of all lights, luminous beyond all ignorance, luminous beyond all stars and suns, by your light we see, beyond the seen to the unseen, beyond the transitory to the everlasting. Those are words of Jacob Trapp, a UU theologian. Thank you, Brenda. For a moment of centering silence, just take a moment to release whatever happened this week or earlier this morning. Leave it all behind you and just be here in your body and mind, resting in this moment and this space. Let the moment be, and you as you are. opening words come from a book titled Prayers for 1,000 Years. Inspiration from leaders and visionaries around the world. It was published at the New Millennium in 2000, a collection of prayers and aspirations. This one is by Tevi Madoff. He's a geothermal energy developer from California. My Lord, supreme being of the universe, let my lips sing the praise of the goodness surrounding me, not affected by the evil that is so rampant. Let my heart glow with the love for them who show affection for me and acceptance for others who do not. Give me the strength to continue that which I do best, that I may add an iota to the transformation of this planet. Let me have a spark to ignite others in joining me, the wisdom to choose the causes that I should support, that I may join others in the effort to make this earth a better place to live. My grain of sand being one in the new edifice, that I could say at the end of the day that I was all that I could be for my dear ones, for others not as fortunate as I have been, and for this planet, being here for much more than just myself, even when it was not always easy. So let us sing this morning. Number 128. Dale is going to play. Would you play a short intro for us, Dale?
Yes. Could I say a word about this? This isn't one of the most familiar, but it's very nice. And there are 4 verses, and when you get to the middle of the second page, at the end of the middle line, you go back to the beginning again and sing the next verse. And then when we get to the very last verse, the last word is not on the middle line on the second page, but we drop down to the bottom line, and the word is glad. So let's sing that loudly, because that's a nice word.
Shall we stand? We sing our thanks and praise, for all life is a gift, which we are called to use, to build a common good. And make our ways on these which others serve, for services we give, for work and its rewards, for hours of rest and love, we come with praise and thanks. For all that is our for sorrow we must bear, for failures made and lost, for each new thing we learned, for fearful hours that pass, we come with praise and thanks. For all that is our we sing our thanks and praise, for all life is a gift, which we are called to use, to build a common good, and make our own days glad. continuing our readings on the topic of gathered religious community, covenant for religious life. And this reading is number 468, written by George E. Odell, titled, We Need One Another. I'll read bold if you read the attachments. We need one another when we mourn and would be comforted.
We need one another when we are in trouble and afraid.
We need one another when we are in despair, in temptation, and need to be recalled to our best selves again.
We need one another when we would accomplish some great purpose and cannot do it alone.
We need one another in the hour of success, when we look for someone to share in our triumphs.
We need one another in the hour of defeat, when with encouragement we might endure and strengthen again.
We need one another when we come to die and would have gentle hands prepare us for the journey.
All our lives we are in need, and others are in need of us.
So as you may have noticed on the support page, during the month of October, we're collecting special funds for Pishka earmarked for particular projects and needs. Last week, Pishka went towards the Maliseet Food Bank, and $75 came in for Pishka during service. And we decided to add an additional $25 from the Pishka Fund to come up with a total of $100 to go to the Maliseet Food Bank. And we'll be writing a check out today and sending that to the band in Maliseet this week. That was project number one, a one-week project. In the next 2 weeks, we are collecting money for the UUA Disaster Hurricane Relief Project in the American Southeast, from Florida up to Tennessee and Kentucky. So you'll see more details in the support page about that. So we're going to be collecting funds today and next Sunday, and those monies, and we'll be cutting a check and we'll go to the UUA Disaster Fund. Our music selection. If I can find my phone. Found the phone. I'll check on that in a moment, Cindy. Thank you. I looked for a number, knowing the forecast for today, and this is titled Sunny Santa Ana. An upbeat number. This is by the Surefire Soul Ensemble out of Los Angeles. Ira, would you do the honor of being our usher this morning? The plate is down front. Pishka is back on the piano. We're back in our parlor format. And again, you'll see the building fund jar on the piano, and also the Fofo Friends of the Frisbee organ. Almost ready now. Good.
Good, Christoph, you digging?
Yes. Good.
All right, thank you.
we get started, I wanted to talk a bit about the astronomical activity during the last week and a half. This is not a screensaver on the screen. This is a shot that I took with my iPhone 15 of the Aurora Borealis a week and a half ago as part of the Northern Lights. I had never really, I saw the Northern Lights one time at number 9 Mountain years ago. I've never had a really great view from Monticello. With the last week and a half of these astronomical activity, this being one of the main ones. With the phone, I was able to pick up just a couple of these images, and it does not really do the justice on this small screen. You may need to get up and get a little better angle of this. So I'm excited about these. I've just never seen them with my naked eye or via phone. And then just last week, Comet Bob. I cannot pronounce the official name. I know it as Comet Bob. Showed up again on the western horizon. And was able to catch it with the phone. This is just one more image. Constantly fighting with, the cloud cover, the Aurora Borealis, as well as the comet. And it's just to zoom in, it just catches just a bit of the tail. So that was taken at 7:48, just shortly after sunset. Is the recommended time in this particular. And then just the past couple of days, the super moon, the harvest moon, even the third night, which is amazing. With the perigee, moving just close to the Earth as it was, it augmented the size and brightness of the moon even more so. It was like walking outside with not just street lights on, just lit up, moon shadows, just amazing experience. And thinking of the trip to Mount Katahdin, Katahdin Woods and Waters National Monument, they had a chart of the light pollution and showing the National Monument is one of the darkest spots, greatest areas to view cosmological activity and astrology. And I looked on the same map in Holton, Maine, and Monticello with that same blackout region. To be able to watch the night sky and the effects of that upon us inspirationally, philosophically, inspired to write a poem, but also just the energy and the science between the movement constellations and the effect that it has a spiritual experience upon those who view it and share it. Moving on to today's morning's topic. UU shared values. And this comes from the latest issue of UU World. It's digital online. You can view all the articles about Article 2 and the changes in the wording. If you don't have a subscription, we have a hard copy here that you can borrow and look at. So we have on today's bulletin, this was the one we've been using, the image put out by the UUA of presenting love at the center and the shared values around the center. Some have been flowers, and there's different colors of the values. On today's bulletin, you'll see one more design that just came out this month. And it's using the atomic atom kind of look, with the same love in the center. And it's interesting, they've rearranged the values. They're not keeping them in a particular location. That does not seem to be as important or significant in the conversation. but that's a different look, similar. And this is the artwork on the article itself in the magazine that you'll see. And you can go on to uuworld.org and view the entire article and the details that support today's talk. And this is one more of the images that showed up on the UU World website. What I'd like to do is view a short video this morning put up by the UUA. It's a 6-minute video with Reverend Nancy McDonald Ladd, who is the UUA Director of Communications, and Charles Dumont, the current UUA co-moderator. And they're having a short discussion, and they recorded this to send, hoping that UU congregations such as ours would view it at some point. So I thought in today's topic would be a good day to take a look at that. And if you can't see the screen, you can find a position that works well for you.
My name is Reverend Nancy McDonald Ladd. It's my great honor to serve as our Director of Communications and Public Ministry here at our Unitarian Universalist Association. And I'm glad to be joined for this video by Charles Dumont. Charles, could you introduce yourself just quickly?
Yeah, it's my honor to be co-moderator of the UUA along with the Reverend Meg Riley. I've been doing this for 4 years now, but this is my last year.
And we find ourselves in that marvelous, creative, occasionally exhausting period of time between General Assembly and here at the launch of a new congregational year, knowing that together at General Assembly 2024, our delegates collectively voted on new shared values: interdependence, pluralism, justice, transformation, generosity, and equity, all centered around a lasting commitment to love. And I wondered, Charles, if you could talk about one aspect of those shared values that has powerful meaning for you as a Unitarian Universalist and a leader as well.
Sure. I think the most powerful thing for me is the transition from affirming and promoting principles to living values that are important to all of us. I have heard hundreds of sermons, literally, naming love at the center of Unitarian Universalism. And now, have it central to a set of values, things that we are called to do every day, that makes my faith come alive. And I can regularly ask myself things like, what have I done to bring more justice into this world? Can I be more generous? How do I encourage a focus on equity among my peers? And have I done it in a loving way? I can do this with all the values.
And I think in some ways your point about how we've been preaching about, and you've heard so many sermons about what it is to center love, that reality has been around a long time. I remember almost 15 years ago someone coming to me and saying, why do you preach about love so much? In many ways, these are not new or groundbreaking. They're a different kind of framing of ideas and concepts and covenants that have been central to our faith for a long time. My great gratitude is that we're held by a tradition while we grow and change. And in this role as UUA staff, I feel like we all waited for the General Assembly to share their collective voice, and now we get the real honor of lifting up the delegates' own reflections and discernment right back to them, to articulate back to the people what the people chose for themselves. And I wondered, Charles, in the middle of that process, were there some special moments at General Assembly watching our faith tradition grapple with this? And what are you hoping for on behalf of our tradition as we carry this decision forward?
You know, for me, it was more than just moments at GA, because we've had this multi-year process where we engage with people in workshops and webinars and online forums. I mean, I interacted with like hundreds of people as they considered what was the core of their faith. And that was really what was special to me, to have those interactions. And people shared that in GA as well, so that was part of that. But beyond their personal faith statements, they looked for those things that were at the core of Unitarian Universalism. And my hope is really that people continue these conversations. As you noted, it's a process. It's all about change. So continue the conversation.
In some ways, the conversation feels new, and in some ways, it feels so profoundly familiar. It's a framework that we know and understand that's holding this long-standing tradition of ours that never has, not for one generation, paused fully and remained in one place, but keeps moving, formed by history as we form each other. And if you have one particular hope for congregations as we work with these shared values, what might that be right now?
That they ask themselves regularly, how can we do this in a loving way? We recognize that there were some people who struggled with the new language for the shared values. We love those people, and they are part of our faith. So, as congregations move forward, recognize that change makes some people uncomfortable, and be prepared to embrace those.
And I think we need to show each other some grace, knowing that this new language doesn't mean other formulations of meaning, including the principles, are erased or taken away, that in fact we grow and we learn and we change through a multiplicity of ways of making meaning. And in some ways we are part of a conversation that has been going on for a very, very long time. All of those conversations, when we approach them with curiosity and creativity, they can be really rich and have so many opportunities. It can be a chance for faith formation to really happen for all of us, which so many of my colleagues in religious education have been advocating for a very long time. So I really look forward to the ways in which we can collectively engage in faith formation and where these conversations will take us. And I thank you so much, Charles.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate being here.
Great to talk to you.
And there you have it. And the updated score on the game. You may have noticed. So as a new congregational year begins, MacDonald and DuPont reflect on the significance of revising language to describe Unitarian Universalist faith. So they consider whether this new shared values language is truly different from past expressions of UU faith, and share their hopes for how UUs will engage with these values in our communities. Both centering on first, love, secondly, respect, third, care and grace in these conversations. So I just want to repeat a few things that came out of this interview where Charles said, this caught my eye, we're transitioning from affirming and promoting principles to living those values that are most important to us. Things that we are called to do every day that makes our faith come alive. It's not just looking at a list of principles or values that can come across as reading just statements that are all good and descriptive and fine. It's almost like affirming. We're affirming those statements. But with this, putting a little twist and the emphasis on the action of making those, living those values. What does it look like in everyday life? So the question that Charles mentioned was, what have I done to, and then fill in the blank? And essentially take any one of these 6 values in that circle and put it in the blank. What have I done to be more generous? What have I done to be more inclusive? What have I done to promote justice and equity? And then he asked, and have I done it in a loving way? And that seems to be the key thing to remember behind all of these actions and our speech, in our activity, of have I done this in the best manner that I can and in love. And we can do this with each one of the values in these diagrams that we're looking at. And they said that it's a different kind of framing of ideas and concepts in covenant that have been central to our UU faith for a long time. Where Reverend MacDonald Ladd says, "My great gratitude is that we're held by a tradition while we can still grow and change. To process all of our change and continuing the conversation. In some ways it feels new, and in some ways we've done this before. And it sounds profoundly familiar, not disorienting or a big shift. It's a re-emphasizing of practicing and making real these values." She said that it's a framework that we know and understand. It's holding this long-standing tradition of ours. It keeps moving, formed by history as we form each other. And that's the phrase that I really liked out of the whole interview. This is a long history tracing back 200 years in the United States. We're tracing it way back into the early days of the Christian church, first century. These ideas, thinking of Steve's lecture, Spinoza was talking about these values and ideas and how to talk about God as nature. And these values and the expression is looking at Aurora Borealis, the implications and experience of that, and the language surrounding it. It's poetic, God language, theology, or theistic. Formed by history as we form each other. It's that process found in community, in a group. And what does that feel like? As we're doing it here in Holton with our 25 to 35 people on a Sunday morning, and other larger UUA congregations are looking at it in their context, in their particular community, location, and economy. So that is our charge, or they're issuing to each one of our UUA congregations, is to contextualize it in your space, in your building, in your community, and see what that looks like. We're sometimes struggles to explain, well, who are we, what are we about to new people who move into the community, what are this unconventional theology that we are engaging with here at 61 Military Street, on the corner with a large black and brown building. And Charles goes on to say that how can we do this in a loving way? Change makes some people uncomfortable. So be prepared to embrace, hang in there with the conversation, embrace each other in those conversations. And we may need to show each other that grace and that room to explore, the elbow room to jostle and ask questions, follow up, and to hang in there as a community in these conversations. And I think our own 5 agreements with Don Miguel Ruiz that we have hanging on the wall will continue for us to be a practical guide as we work with these new UU shared values model. I think we can ask the same question, that fill in the blank of how can I practice each one of these agreements in a loving way. And each one of these 5 agreements, I think, will benefit us in the process. So today, I want to talk about the 2 dimensions of religion. This is going to be a very brief part of the talk. Talking about where UU theology is today, because again, we talk about theology and God in unconventional way. We talk about in theistic terms and non-theistic terms. And definition of terms will become key in the conversation amongst ourselves this year as we run into new people and to explain who we are and what we should use. You'll notice that as our study goes along, talking about the science of religion, the nature of the divine, and the implications of theology with love at the center are going to be these parts that we're working with. In the last session, we looked at two main criteria of how we talk about God or our theology. And the two that I recommended was God as one, love, and God as truth, as interchangeable ways of talking about the same thing. So today, we're looking at two dimensions of religion, which is also, I think, could be very helpful. It comes out of the essay, chapter 1 of the book, Love at the Center, titled Theology of Love Was Never a Monologue. And it happens to be written by, I didn't notice it at the time, but by Reverend McDonald. In today's video, he's the writer of this, and you'll see a passage from the chapter in today's bulletin, and we're going to read that in just a moment. And this comes from Jürgen Moltmann, famous theologian, first presenting this idea of two dimensions of theology, which has been in seminary, and Bill and I were discussing this last week after the service, about a key part of keeping in mind when we're looking at theology. So, I'm going to read this quickly, and then just a few comments to wrap up. It was the theologian Jürgen Moltmann who popularized the framework of a vertical and a horizontal dimension to faith. The vertical is that which transcends us, that which pulls us up to an object of reverence, and the horizontal is the dimension of faith lived out right here, among us and within us, of this worldly faith that calls us to attention and action in this present moment. Moltmann said that these two aspects of faith, the vertical and the horizontal, are not alternatives in competition with each other. Instead, they exist in essential and dynamic tension, with the vertical always putting pressure on the horizontal and vice versa. This means that the transcendent, in which we are in covenantal relationship, always exerts some kind of transformational pressure on this world and each of us within it. As we have practiced it in our theological vision, love is not now and never has been something that happens in isolation, separate from the sacred push and pull of relationship with each other and with the holy. Love does not happen alone. Like theology, it has never been a monologue. It unfolds together in places far beyond the entrenched positions of what each of us does and does not believe. It is not mine or yours, but ours. So I just want to present that idea today of, I think it's helpful, the vertical aspect of philosophy and religion, directly with that relation. What do you believe and what do you think related to the divine, or what transcends us? And then on the vertical comes in with the covenantal relationships and agreements we have with each other as it plays out the ideas, our values that we hold dearly, how do those play out in community and in social action, in what we do. And the two terms that you'll see related to this are transformation, which happens to be one of the new UU shared values being promoted, and translation. Transformation would be the vertical part of the two dimensions of religion, and translation is what is referring to this whole the horizontal aspect of how does that translate or transpose into your everyday life. And we'll be talking, there's more applications to those two terms, but that's how it ties in to these two aspects or dimensions of religion that we as UUs have been working with, evolving, changing, adapting, bringing in additional language from other traditions, disciplines, and trying to process all of that together into who we are as a diverse and pluralistic and equitable expression of the democratic process in those conversations of getting work done, and also creating services where we can have ritual and sharing of ideas in an environment that has sanctuary and respect in that context. So what we're talking about here is an approach that I'm taking is how do you raise the vibrational level of a group, or the level of conscious or awareness or attention, and the shared IQ, that vibrational frequency. Each individual in that group is all over the place. We want to rate it on a scale. But what is the group energy vibrational level itself is helpful to be aware of in that level of conscious awareness shared by the group or the culture that you've developed. We're not going to get into that a lot today. All I want to say is, as you all know, in the same way you notice a person's vibe when they walk into a room, people can also notice the vibe of a group when they walk into a room of collective people, when they walk into this space. And I've got stories I could tell of different people's reactions of their first time walking in the door to a service. The full range of reactions. And they're interacting with, at some level, the energetic vibrational piece, and the content also. And I think that's helpful when you're looking at the first experience of someone entering a new group. Of how can we be welcoming? How can we be supportive of that experience and to ease someone into a community? So what I did bring into the service to work with this energetic level of the group is a one crystal, Prelude rock crystal. And the story behind this is Iris rocking in the chair back there. He loaned this to me to take home, and you should put this under your pillow, and it helps to give good vibrational frequency while you're dreaming or sleeping. It's one of the usages of Prelude. So I did that for a couple of weeks, and then I soon realized Ira is not getting this Prelude crystal back. I think I kind of bonded with it, Ira. And before long, even Ira realized he's not getting it back. And I've showed more people, I carry this around with me and tell some stories about it. And your name quite often comes up, Ira.
It's a nice relationship you have.
So we talked about 7 energy levels of how you can rate a group or individuals. But on the this would be an E4 level crystal or related to the heart center, which is interesting because it's right in the middle of the 7 energy levels. It's a cross point, just like the transformational and the transformational or the vertical and horizontal intersect. It would be at E4, which Prelude is one of those manifestations or an object of that. Typically, E4 shades are rose, pink and greens. This would be, and it connects to the lower level. Prelude is one of the few that goes directly to E3 or the solar plexus location. But it also extends upwards towards E5, 6, and 7. And Ira's really smart. I don't know, what are you talking about, Ira? So, what I'm going to do is pass this around. Okay. And I hope I get this back at the end of the service. But for a little exercise, just hold it at your heart center and take one deep breath in and one deep breath out, or you can take 2. But then pass it along when you're finished. We're hoping that by the time the announcements are finished, everyone, the train I will make it around, and I may or may not get it back.
Depends on which side of the room it gets back.
Philosophy gets so heady or stuck in, we're talking about it all the time, or we're arguing about it all the time, or identifying with it. So I'm finding practices such as this tend to be, it moves it into the expressive, or like viewing the night sky, gets you out of the head and into the cosmos, and opening up. Grounding into your own, the sensations of your own body, feeling something emotionally, spiritually, or feeling something physically or energetically. So as that continues, I would like to read, in closing, a quote from Michael Meade, who was a writer back in the 1980s, leader of a men's movement, and several books on spirituality, still writing. Michael Meade. Rather than the need to heroically save the whole world, the real work of humanity at this time may be to awaken the unique spark and inner resiliency of genius seated within each person born on this planet. The transformation of the individual soul becomes the transformation of the entire living world. For the world, too, is in danger and in need of as much care and genius as we each can offer to it. That is our challenge this morning, to take these new shared values, 5 agreements, the 7 principles, in our own innate, to trust your own senses. Or Emerson, Michael Meade got that term from Emerson, from the Oversoul, about the genius of each individual, the capacity of human consciousness. And I think that is the appeal. Whenever we run into on the streets in Holden, Maine, or with other members of this group, you can connect to and appeal and relate at that level of that own awareness, the genius. It resonates with love. You can have a conversation and get and hold love at the center. Whatever that expression or outlet is, that is what transforms it. That's what transforms it. That's what carries it. Love at the center, which we all are, and we can do. And it would be exciting to see what this group can do at that vibrational level, to see how we can model that, challenge each other, and to do that difficult work, and to hold each other, and to give plenty of grace in that process. Even as we extinguish this chalice, and as we leave this place, we carry the light of genius within us, a luminous sense of our being, which is our own truest nature. Be love, and be compassion in this world today. May we go in peace.
I want to thank everybody for tuning in today. If you'd like to show your support, please hit the like button, subscribe to our channel if you're not already subscribed, and help us out by sharing this message by clicking the share button. If you'd like to make a monetary donation to you, Church Holton, there is a link to our online donations in the video description down below. And again, thank you so much, and have a blessed day.